The scene in which Conan finds the Atlantean sword is once again an echo of his father's words. He told him that their god Crom was living in the earth and that humans found the Riddle of Steel only by chance. Conan is now down in the earth and finds a sword like man once did. And like the giants who in the darkness of chaos stole the secret of steel from Crom, he now steals the Atlantean sword from the darkness of this grave. The giants were later cast into the waters, and Conan falls into a pool of water. The water might even be meant as a hint for Atlantis, since the sword is named the Atlantean sword. But there is another detail that hints at Atlantis. The crest in the background of this image shows an erupting volcano that is in danger of being swallowed up by the big waves of water that are raging beneath it, which absolutely fits Plato's description of how Atlantis disappeared from the face of the earth. The dancing shadows of the puddle of water further make it look as if this scene is taking place underwater. The grave belongs to someone who in his time might have been considered a great warrior, king, or even a god. I say god because almost at the end of the scene, Conan says the name of his god, Crom, which puts it into the mythological context that I mentioned. Crom is said to sit on a throne in a cave of the mountain Ben Morg in Cimmeria. The mountain is situated next to the Cimmerian burial grounds known as the Field of the Dead, and this description perfectly fits with the imagery in the movie and further supports my interpretation of it. After Conan takes the sword, we can see a smile on his face, like in the first kata, as if it was all that he would ever need. He is so blissful that he doesn't even notice that the strokes with the blade are causing this king's skeleton to sink in. When he emerges from the tomb, the music rises triumphantly, signaling that Conan is now prepared to face the world, and the sword gives him so much confidence that he doesn't even look down when he cuts the chains around his feet. The scene ends with Conan looking again at the sword and then directly at the camera. He now has steel. What could he possibly fear? I would like to show you now how the scene is constructed to turn it into a ceremonial act, and how the central figure in this chamber is brought to life, although this warrior king has probably been dead for centuries. The ethereal music gives the scene an otherworldly atmosphere, which is interwoven with images of skeletons, transporting us back to an even more ancient past. This turns Conan into the first human who is about to discover fire, which then will lead to more discoveries. When the fire is lit, the music swells with the use of basses and violins. The music reflects Conan's rising awareness of what he found, as well as the majesty of the central figure in this chamber. You might have noticed by now that fire has appeared a few times in the movie, always carrying a different meaning, which underlines its role as an acting force in this world. Conan walks forward and takes a look at his surroundings. We see that other people have been buried along with this warrior king. Maybe they were his most trusted and capable soldiers, and now they are forming an eternal guard of honor, which makes it look as if Conan is walking forward to receive his knighthood and join their ranks. But it is also possible that these skeletons were some of the enemies of this king. Some of them are lying around or even chained to their position and haven't received the kind of attention that the king has had. The skeletons seem to be hanging down and not standing upright, and they are standing in shadowed corners, whereas the king is sitting at the center on a well-lit throne. The way that he was positioned makes it look as if he has still some vigor left to him. He clearly seems to be waiting for something or someone, and he is often directly looking at the camera. Conan's expression of something like cautious fear on his face when he takes the sword, as well as the small movements of the king because of Conan's strikes with the blade, contribute to making the viewer think that the king indeed has some life left to him. During the first half of the scene, Conan is standing or walking in a crouched position, as if he was showing his respect towards this warrior king. At first he is even unintentionally bowing down to him, as if he was waiting to be asked to come forward, which he only does when he sees the king and not before. Before he walks up to him, we get a point of view shot that traces the Atlantean sword from the tip of its blade to its hilt. The shot is like a presentation of the gift he is about to receive, and it mirrors the next shot when Conan rises up a bit. Next is a close-up of the king's head that is zooming in at the same time. In fact, the number of zoom-ins is unusually high for a movie, but here they have the effect to take us back or pull us into this ancient past. In the case of the king, the zoom-ins read like an invitation to come forward to receive the gift. And it makes this figure the center of gravity towards which Conan is inevitably drawn. Then we get another point of view shot that traces the hilt of the sword, followed by a shot that puts the sword, Conan and the king in the same frame. Since we only see the king's face in this shot, it could be read as him giving his consent to Conan taking the sword. This is musically accompanied with a more prominent use of brasses, which elevates Conan's action into a ceremonial act. When the king's skeleton sinks in, I'm not sure whether this means that the king disapproves of what Conan thinks is the Riddle of Steel, or that now that he has passed on his legacy, he can finally rest in peace. Maybe it is both or something else entirely. The fallen helmet causes Conan to wake up and utter Crom. Does he say the name to invoke his protection, or does he think that the skeleton is Crom, who led him to this gravesite to give him a sword, to send him on his quest to solve the Riddle of Steel? Whatever it may be, he then lets the blade rest on his forehead, which can mean that he is thankful, or that he has now received a blessing from this king, Crom, or whomever.